And then really what happened was uranium just went straight up since June. And the stocks went straight up since June. So you had 6 months of going straight up. So my question to you is, are we too late here? And then you have some also, you had some, I don't know how to interpret this, but you had some stuff going on in Kazakhstan, I believe, which is a huge producer, which would impact the supply some more. But I
Right.
just don't know how to read all of this. So I want your comments on that.
Okay. So several things. Yeah. I mean, the commodity went vertical, and I sure got a lot of hate from uranium uber bulls for pointing that out and saying that, nothing goes vertical forever. No price can go, like literally vertical for long. That's mathematically impossible. It cannot go to infinity.
Yeah.
So, I in the last few weeks have been calling for some measure of correction or pullback, and lo and behold, we've been chopping sideways. Not really much of a correction, not a technical correction, certainly not 10% yet. But 6% is not bad. So yeah, I mean, it was reasonable to be cautious. There are several threads that are important that I want to pull on that you brought up, but the quick answer is no, it's not too late. And one of the reasons or one of the threads is the Kazakhstan thing. Kazakhstan is the world's largest lowest cost producer. What happens in Kazakhstan is very important. The same way that what happens in China is important to all commodities, what happens in Kazakhstan is important for the uranium market. So I had been, I, people will call me a bear or a traitor to the uranium cause. I've been called all kinds of things. My Darth Silver mantle has turned into Darth Uranium now, but that's a whole nother story. But hey, it didn't kink sideways, right? Nothing can go vertical forever. But now we have new data. Like, okay, to be perfectly fair, people who follow this more closely, like Justin Huhn, Professor Quaig, some others, they were saying that Kazakhstan was in trouble and it was probably not going to be able to deliver on its guidance. And no disrespect to these folks, A, they were right, but B, some expert who says this is what's going to happen, we've been burned by that before. And people make deductions and they seem logical, they make sense. Reality has a way of not happening when we think or exactly as we think it's going to do. It's, as the saying goes, predictions are dangerous, especially about the future. So what
Right.
I'm saying is, all these people who are angry because we dare to point out that uranium has gone into a pause here and ask the question, is it safe? Well, I mean, get a grip. If you're angry about people questioning your investment thesis, you really need to think about your emotions here, because that kind of anger prompts one to make investment mistakes. It is not unreasonable to ask if a market that's gone vertical is due for a breather. It's not unreasonable to ask if it's too late. So now that we have not just expectations, not just deductions from keen observers, but we have the facts. We have the fact that Kazatomprom produced less uranium in 23 than 22, which was quite shocking. And that they have, in fact, not just guided that they might, they have now slashed their forward guidance of they were going to increase their production, and now they're just barely, basically not. These are now facts that we can factor in. And given the tightness in that market, and given that the demand, there's no question on the demand side, that only keeps building. I'm actually now much more bullish on uranium for this year than I was last week or last month, because we've gone from possibilities of more supply challenges to facts of more supply challenges in what was already a tight market. Now, this is a difficult thing for me to say because we're still looking at $100 uranium, way above what we thought was the incentive price. As you say, many of at least the better stocks have gone way up as well. It's very difficult for me to tell anybody that, oh yeah, the stock's at a 52-week high or at a multi-year high. Yeah, just go ahead and buy it. Don't worry, it's going higher. It, you know, there is a non-zero chance that that stock will be much cheaper in another week or two. But there's also a non-zero chance that uranium will just keep going on a rip. the setting right now is like, before it seemed most likely, or the odds favored some more correction. Now, with this news, with the biggest and most important supplier to the global market having changed materially and substantially, the odds seem like more like consolidation before the next leg up. So, what am I saying with all this gobbledygook? If I was new, to answer your question, if I had missed uranium before, and I'm asking, is it too late? No, it's not too late. There is a possibility for this to just take off. And if I had no uranium in my portfolio, I would want to buy something like this week, not something that just hit an all-time high. But there are some that have responded, in a big way to uranium and have corrected somewhat more than the metal itself, which is typical. And our first take from there would be of interest to me. Now, if I'm already long, then probably I'd be a little bit more patient. The odds, I don't know what they are. There's no P's and Q's here that I can give you an equation. My sense, though, is that even with the news out of Kazakhstan, well, the last broker price index we got was down 75 cents yesterday. So even with that news, there are still some people selling.
Yeah, we got some weakness.
So, just, bulls and bears can be right or wrong, but pigs get slaughtered.
Right. Yeah. It seems like I'm hearing you, and I would agree. It's, if you don't have anything, nibble and hope that it comes down. It's okay if it comes down, take the pain. It's not really pain. It's just an opportunity to average in more.
Right. Right. You buy it do not buy something and say, okay, let's say my ideal allocation of this is $10,000. Don't go out and buy $10,000.
Right.
Buy, $2,000, $3,000 now, see if it fluctuates in the weeks ahead, double down. Then if there's a big fluctuation, you fill in your position. And if not, you still have a big chunk of that and you're ready to ride up. Yeah. And, people get mad at me for saying that nobody goes broke taking profits, but, I didn't coin that phrase. It's absolutely true. And the main thing is that taking profits does not mean selling entirely.
Right.
I've probably taken a lot less profits than our friend Rick Rule, who's said he's done a substantial withdrawal from the sector, recovering all of his money initially invested and enough to cover his taxes, which where he lives is a significant burden. He's not with me here in tax haven USA of Puerto Rico. So I'm still long. I'm very bullish on uranium going forward. And the Kazakhstan thing makes me even more bullish than I was before on this year, which honestly, I thought the correction and consolidation could go on all year in this space because we have those people that bought cheap uranium with the intention of selling it later, right? The producers or the developers that bought uranium to help finance their mine construction. They're not like Sput trying to keep the pounds off the world forever. Their goal is to sell it. And if they bought it 30, 40, $50, they're looking at a double or a triple. Why wouldn't they use that to finance their mine construction now? So there's questions about secondary supply. But I think now this news out of Kazakhstan basically makes me worry about that a lot less. I don't see a lot of downside here for uranium. Markets are volatile. They often overcorrect. If uranium drops, a lot, let's say to 80, 70, or even, below 70 into the 60s again, I think that's tough. But if that happened, man, I would be tempted to get a second mortgage or have sell some pot or, whatever. I would see that as an absolute gift. I think the only thing that really takes the uranium speculation down for good is another Chernobyl type event. I don't even think a Fukushima event would do it because now uranium and nuclear energy has the green mantle. There's panic amongst the climate change warriors. They understand there is no way, at least the more rational ones. I didn't say rational. I said more rational ones. The more rational ones, I think they're getting it, that there's no way they achieve their goals without nuclear. So even even shelling of the Zaporizhzhia plant in Ukraine hasn't derailed the uranium train. That's really quite striking. And by the way, if anything, that I think is really a stunning endorsement in the real world of how safe nuclear power is. Europe's largest nuclear power station in the middle of a war zone that's been hit, and no accidents, no peeps of radiation, no problems. I mean, that really says a lot about how safe nuclear energy really is. And anybody that looks at the track record over now, 70 years of it plus, and only Chernobyl, which arguably was really more about Soviet stupidity than nuclear energy and engineering itself.
Yeah.
It's an extraordinary track record compared to what the number of people killed by coal plants, and what that does to people's lungs or other power sources. Sorry, I don't mean to wax too
Not at all. Not at all.
but I just think this is an idea whose time has come. And what I'm saying is, in a way, prudence after a spike in price calls for caution right now in the immediate future. But really, absent a Chernobyl level event, I think higher prices and big wins in the right, quality uranium stocks are as close to a sure thing as you get in resource speculation.